Team, and thanks to the Caloundra Chamber for inviting us in to have a quick chat on our experiences with LinkedIn and some things that have helped us in our journey as a small business grow using a platform like LinkedIn. And again, appreciate the Chamber of Commerce taking an active interest in growing their membership and putting some extra information into their membership. It's an absolutely fantastic achievement. It's a credit to the team. Look, I've got to keep this pretty brief because we don't have a lot of time. So we're small business owners, we're also consultants, we're not marketers. So I'll get that out there straight away. We're not marketers, we don't have a massive marketing team. So everything that we've been able to do on LinkedIn to grow such a followership and an influence has been off the back of a couple of people leaving the military effectively, trying to grow an influence from a specifically defense group to trying to expand into the corporate and the business environment. So I don't know how many people that are logged in can relate to being a small business and growing from nothing to something with a lot of influence. But that's what we want to try and take you through today, to understand that yes, we can relate to a journey from a small business up. We didn't start as CEOs of companies where your position pretty much guarantees you 1 million followers or anything like that. We've had to grow this thing from scratch. What I'd ask for the duration of the presentation is that you keep your mics muted. If you're new to webinars or you're new to these meetings, it just makes life a lot easier for the guys and the people presenting. So if we stay muted, that'd be great. Feel free to throw some questions and some comments into the chat, and we'll try and answer those if we can now, and if we don't have time, then we'll do it at a bit of a later stage. Now, this session is part one. It's the introduction to LinkedIn, just a few basics, just to understand the platform, what it's about, its target markets, and what you can achieve using something like LinkedIn or this platform, the professional platform. What we'll go into in part two and part three is a bit more detail and a bit more gritty actions you can take to actually look at your lead generation, how to build your profiles for its best effect. And then in part three, we'll look at how to actually use the data to generate leads and how to really refine your ability to network and create those useful connections, which open up a whole world of opportunities. So again, from us at the 8th Mile team, thank you all for joining us, and I'll hand over to Dave to kick us off. Thank you.
Hey team, how are you going? So Jono and I are obviously the co-owners of the 8th Mile, and just to reiterate a very important point is we're not sales and we're not marketers. We are two grimy consultants that have worked their way up, basically building a very, very strong followership on this platform. And the platform we're very loyal to because it has supported us so well. What I would say though regarding this platform is it is one of a kind. There are 575 million users worldwide. There are 9 million Australian active users that generate a lot of energy every week on this platform. 122 million users across the world are getting job interviews a year. 20 million companies are listed on the platform, and it moves about $1 billion a quarter. And so, I hope that resonates with a lot of people, because some people ask me and they say, hey, look, what is LinkedIn? And as a business owner, I think we're at a point now where we can't afford to ignore it any longer. This presentation is down and dirty, but it is mainly geared towards trying to provide the conceptual understanding about the platform. And in doing so, we'll open up conversation and a bit of thirst, I think, for getting into the detail about how we actually function on this platform in subsequent sessions. In doing so, we'll cover what is LinkedIn. We'll look briefly at why it is different to other platforms, because it is very important to understand how it is different, because it will gear the way we do our messaging and the way we engage with other people. We'll talk about its value, and in doing so, hopefully expectation manage what this is and what this is not. And hopefully get you start thinking about how your business or how your personal brand might nest within that. And at the end, we'll do a bit of a snapshot about some of the behavioral do's and don'ts, because LinkedIn is a culture in and of itself, and there is some faux pas associated with those social groups. So making sure you know what you're walking into is 90% of the battle, and hopefully this helps. Thanks, John.
Yeah, Dave made a really good point. The expectation managing what the platform is and what the platform isn't is really, really, really important. It's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, it's not Instagram. This is a corporate platform. It's predominantly aimed at business to business or business to customer. That's how it works. And you got to understand that LinkedIn originated as a platform for job seekers looking for employment. So, you're building a professional and a business profile. There's almost a limited need for a CV because your experience is listed in your profile. You get your professional voice and your business and your company's voice from the content that you generate and the content that you put out. People have a firm understanding of who you are in a professional capacity by the sorts of things that you put in your profile, on your company page, and in the content that you generate, which is fantastic. When we're talking about our business and our professional profiles, it's that. It's not the things that you put up on Facebook. It's not the things that you put up on Twitter. It's not the things that you put up on Instagram. You're putting your history of companies, you're putting your experience in the content that you generate. You're talking about things that you're the subject matter expert on. So if you're a sales and marketing person, the sort of content that you're generating, sort of content that you're pushing out to the masses is about that, to demonstrate your capability, to demonstrate your subject matter expertise, and to demonstrate, how you would go about doing certain things in the current environment, in the current context, or what you've done previously, which gives people a snapshot of who you are in a professional capacity. And it's important to make that distinction between your professional and your personal, although they should link, in value sets and those sort of things. It's important to understand that this is a professional and a business platform. So when we talk about our content, and I've just touched on it briefly, your content that you generate should be about the things that you're passionate about, values-based, and the thing that you are the subject matter expert on, or what you want to be learning, or the things that you want to be understanding about other businesses out there. It's your professional avenue. If you're not prepared to have that conversation in a business context, then it probably belongs over in Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And again, it's important to note that when people come on to LinkedIn, they are looking for that professional, that business content. They're not looking for wedding photos, babies, puppies, cats, and memes. They're actually looking for those ideas that, generate innovation. They are tackling current financial strategies, HR strategies. They're looking at that style of content. It's important to make that distinction. This platform is an amazing networking tool, where previously you wouldn't be able to reach out and connect with any ease with people over in the United States, with markets in Canada, or markets in the UK or Europe. You're at a touch of a button, and you can do it here, and it's easy. By a simple message, by demonstrating your subject matter expertise in content, people will flock to that, and you can build momentum, you can build energy, and you can create these networks. What I'd also say is that practically there are groups already out there. If you identify as a change manager, you can join a group that's like, for example, the Change Management Institute, and then you get feeds that are targeted at change management, job application or job openings that are targeted at change management. So it does a lot of that filtering and a lot of that work for you in your simple adding and groups and events and things like that. And it makes life really, really easy. I mentioned opportunities. Now, professional business opportunities on LinkedIn have progressed on a really great curve, on the upward, which demonstrates that people are actually using LinkedIn to generate opportunities, to communicate opportunities, and to successfully acquire those opportunities, whether it's business, whether it's contracts, whether it's clients, whether it's job openings. All of this stuff now is being advertised on LinkedIn. And by following hashtags, by following groups, by connecting with business leaders or opening networks like in the Caloundra Chamber, being associated with those groups and those networks opens up opportunities that you previously wouldn't have been able to capitalize on because you wouldn't have been aware of it, which is again really, really important. Now, Dave and I, when we talk about profiles, we talk about the free and the premium profiles. Dave and I have made a point on building our network and our connections off a free profile to demonstrate that this can be done, right? It's important to note that there are 4 types of premium profiles. We'll go into that in later sessions, but it's important to note the distinction. You might be told that you can't build influence, you can't build momentum, and you can't maximize the LinkedIn potential without having a premium account. What I'd say to that is maximize what you can do in a free account before you look at a premium account. And once you've understood the basics and understood the capabilities of LinkedIn, then you'll be able to maximize the use of a premium account. That's what I've got to say on what LinkedIn is in general, and I'll move on. Dave, did you want to add anything?
The one thing I would say is, in the global context at the moment, I don't need to labor on the point that everyone's working from home, but what we've seen at our company level is an opening of international opportunities in a very, very short amount of time by leveraging off the strength of our personal and our company brands on this platform. So, what that looks like for us in practical terms is we're doing executive coaching to all continents at the moment. We've got engagement about projects in the US, all these sorts of things that have come out in the last couple of weeks, where previously we would have geared most of our efforts towards local interactions and face-to-face. And now that's off the table for a short while. We've had to leverage off LinkedIn and rapidly change our approach to suit the needs of revenue and whatnot. And we've done that very, very successfully by using the strength of this particular platform. Thanks, John.
Yeah, and Dave and I have become pretty accustomed to working with time differences now, which is great. So, 2 a.m. meetings and executive coaching is the norm now, which is fantastic. Look, why is LinkedIn different? And, we've touched on it before. It's a professional and it's a business platform, which means your professional credibility is on show. And that's okay. That's perfect, because your experience is there in your profile, your voice. You're creating a professional corporate voice, which is based around your content, and people can see that. And that's good, because it opens opportunities before you even have to apply for them. LinkedIn has a way of, you can target your searches. So already you've taken a filter, which is this, and you've already refined it to this, which is your corporate and your business people. Now, as small business owners and people that are employed within organizations, the market that you want to be targeting is that business and professional profile. LinkedIn already does that, because it filters through into your professional experience, and you can already see that in people's profiles, which is great. You can then search to refine those filters even more. So you can search CEOs, directors, or if you want to track down HR specialists or marketing professionals, you can run those searches and it'll filter that through again. And before you've even spoken to anyone, you can have a bit of an understanding on what their voice is, what their content's like, and who they are as a professional, and whether that suits the values of your organization. So it takes a lot of the work out of identifying people and networks for your organization. It is a revenue generator, 100%. Like I was saying before, Dave and I, our company sources about 80% of its revenue through its contacts obtained by working with LinkedIn. And that's an important distinction, because when you're operating with limited resources as a small business and growing, you need to make sure that the actions you're taking have the most impact for the least amount of time or resource burn. So a platform like LinkedIn is a force multiplier when it comes to generating revenue, generating impact with a limited resource factor. I'll touch on algorithms now, but we'll reserve how to actually use the algorithms for the later session. LinkedIn will filter your searches and filter your connections through its algorithms to provide you what it thinks is the best fit for new connections for you. So from a practical point of view, when Dave and I were leaving the military, we barely touched LinkedIn, but most of our connections were military. So LinkedIn would then push military connections at us, which didn't help us leaving the military when we had to broaden our corporate and our business sense. Once we started connecting with business professionals, corporate professionals in different industries, LinkedIn took that and then started pushing us likely connections or suggested connections, which were in the spaces that we were looking at. For me, I was looking at the HR strategy and change management. Dave was looking along the project management lines. And it ended up landing us into our first projects outside of the military, being in the IT space and rolling out an enterprise resource planner, which was a fantastic opportunity for us leaving the military. So we'll touch on how to understand and use those algorithms in later sessions.
So why bother? There's so many other platforms out there. Facebook has the most amount of users of any platform in the world. So why are we bothering with LinkedIn. I would say it very bluntly, as a business owner, you can't afford not to. If nothing else, it is professional credibility, it is market analysis, and it is environmental understanding. Gone are the days where we can just leverage off our website. Today, we're talking about, backlinks, SEO. We're talking about interlocking platforms and mechanisms of communication. LinkedIn is a tier 100 level domain, which what that means is what you put on LinkedIn carries huge amount of weight in Google searches and whatnot. So these are really important points when we're talking about how you start differentiating yourself from other businesses. And I would say to get to the point of differentiation, you have to at least hit neutrality with other businesses. And if they're all playing there, you're already running at a distinct handicap if you want to succeed. What I'll talk just briefly about is data. And today, someone put out a quote, in the last 10 years about data being worth more than oil. And in many ways, it's true. And Google coming to the top of the pile has proven this time and time again. Data exists in LinkedIn in all its various forms. But what I would say is for business owners or sole proprietors like yourself, if you want to leverage on the capabilities of data, you actually have to ask yourself, what are the questions that you need answering? Because the temptation is to go rummaging around through this saturation of information, but it can all be a bit daunting and a bit too much. So what I'd really encourage people to do is go, what are the questions you want to know about your competitor, your products, your brand, and start putting those questions on paper and then leveraging the data to answer those questions. The risk of not doing that is that the data is just going to become too much and you're just going to be saturated with information, and it's all going to get very, very confusing. In our company, we use data on LinkedIn almost by the hour. Sam, who's our marketing manager, and myself and Jono will be having discussions about how certain messages are landing via what type of application. So that might look like, hey, look, we've created a visual infographic with a certain type of messaging. Who is that landing with? Is it females? Is it males? Is it other? Is it by geography? Is it by job type? Is it by business type? Is it by industry? And we can actually see what content we're putting out and how it's landing with certain people. And in fact, how that manifests is in recent time, we had to do a pretty quick transition into our online training capability and lean more into that whilst COVID's been running. And we were able to simply put out a question because of the large followership that we have and ask the question to people, where do you think we would be able to resource or provide the most amount of value to you? And we put those questions out and we had that information within 25 minutes. We knew what our online training package would look like conceptually in 25 minutes because everyone had already answered what they want from us. And that's the power of what this does. So data is incredibly important and very, very powerful, but it needs to be very, very targeted for the effect that you're trying to achieve. Opportunities in LinkedIn take all various forms, but ultimately we're looking at interactions between people and different agencies or organizations. Opportunities might look like a person trying to find a job and linking up with a recruiter who might guide them through the process from end to end with very little red tape or paperwork, with the recruiter, basically putting someone under their wing and then guiding them through LinkedIn to opportunities and then working together as a partnership. Opportunities might look like finding other organizations in which to partner with. And one such example is in just 2 days ago, we got contacted by a US company that does, I guess, the offset for what we provide within the 8th mile. And so we came up with a group offer in very, very short amount of time, back on the back end of some Zoom discussions. And in 2 or 3 days, we'd come up with the nuts and bolts about how a very large scale project offering might look. And we were able to do that very, very quickly because of the ability to chat on LinkedIn, introduce everyone, transition to a video conferencing capability, have those chats, move to administration and paperwork, and a very, very, very quick process. And so that's for us what Nirvana looks like, and that gives us a positive confirmation that what we're doing works in that respect. So opportunities are very much like the questions in the data space. What are the opportunities that you are trying to capitalize on? And how do you target the data to reinforce and find them for you? And talking about Jono's algorithms, LinkedIn does a lot of the horsepower for you. It won't do all the work, but it needs to see that you're going down a certain direction. And the very, very capable algorithms in the system will start leading those outcomes towards you. But you've got to be looking for them. Connections. Now, the temptation on LinkedIn is to have as many connections as you can. That's both an opportunity and a risk. You can have lots and lots of connections, but it might not translate to anything if your business outcome is, hey, I just want sales of a certain widget, in a certain way. In that case, you might only need 400 connections, but they're very high impact connections that you spend a lot of time engaging with and creating those relationships, and it might look like partnerships. Or you might be going the other direction, and you might need a large followership in order to spread your message or get your brand recognized. In some ways, having too many followers might actually damage your brand if you're very niche and very nuanced in the service that you provide. So just think about what the effect is that you're trying to achieve. And we'll cover on in future sessions about how that looks and how you can actually control that effect within the platform itself. Influence. LinkedIn has a huge amount of influence. It happens almost on a daily basis for myself and Jono and the rest of the team, where people will go, hey, look, I saw that post you put out 3 months ago. That really resonated with me. Would you kind of come to our organization and present a workshop on leadership or resilience or whatnot? So the influence that your posts have are very outreaching. And one of the, I guess at a very personal level is, I get a lot of posts, and so does everyone else within the team, and private messages from people saying, hey, look, you've really positively influenced our life. And you've really got me through a very hard time. And I get a lot of satisfaction from that. And in fact, it's a bit of a buzz for me, particularly in the current context, because it's hard to reach people by catching up over coffee. So consider it about paying it forward. Influencing others, I would say, what can you do for them? And how can you actually support others on this platform? Because that goes a very, very long way to reinforcing your personal brand. Thanks, John. So I'll quickly cover off on the do's, and Jono will cover off on the more negative side, the don'ts. I would really encourage people to explore, if they're really joining for the first time or they're in the early stages, get out far and wide and see what this platform has to offer. That will look like your homepage, or basically the equivalent of a Facebook newsstream. And go through that and start seeing what other people are doing. As you see things that you like, start following and start leaning in towards them, because it's a great opportunity to personally and professionally develop yourself. And I'll be very honest, I've been proven wrong a couple of times on this platform, and I've learned a great deal from people who are better at doing certain things than me. And it's been a great opportunity to meet mentors who have educated me in that space. So I'm very, very appreciative of that. If you get to the point that you're confident enough to push content out, I would say make sure that you have an opinion about something. There's a lot of content out on this platform that's very vanilla. And people, I think, across the world are very scared to put their opinion out, just in case they might offend someone or they might be wrong or whatnot. What I would say is, if that is you, have an opinion, but be willing to professionally discuss those particular opinions. You'll see the 8th Mile, we pick a side about certain things. We're very passionate about leadership. We're very, very passionate about resilience, change management, how you should treat your staff. These are very close topics to our heart. And so in that respect, you will see us not get aggressive, but we will happily have professional debate about these topics. And in doing so, the LinkedIn followership that we have is very supportive of the brand. And doing so helps us get to a point of sale and providing value to others. Like, comment, and share. People need to know who you are, so put yourself out there and discuss other people's topics and content. And it's a good opportunity if you're looking for a job to engage with those companies that might be of interest, and start putting yourself out there, because you'll be surprised at who's watching. Most of the C-suite executive or the middle level management are all on this platform. and they're all watching what you are and are not doing. So I would very, very much encourage you to use that to your advantage. And just a simple one is have a professional photo. This isn't, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and pay for a photo, but have something that represents you well. It's not you drunk out on the town, and it's not you hanging upside down on a monkey bars or something like that. How you put this out is free to air, so people will see it, and it's basically your CV. And in fact, most CVs are redundant these days because most HR teams and recruiting teams are just using LinkedIn as 90% of their filtering. So just consider that. Cheers, Jono.
Right, a few don'ts, and I understand that we're running short on time. Like a professional connection or someone that you meet first time, don't try and sell anything immediately. Build rapport, build a friendship, build a network, invest the time to create the professional network. The opportunities will come later. As soon as you try and sell straight away, people put their walls up and they put their guard up and they'll push away pretty quickly. Don't use it as a dating app. There are dating apps out there. The easiest way to get blocked and the easiest way to burn rapport within your communities is to try and pick up and date using LinkedIn. Don't push political and religious agendas. Again, it's not what this platform's for. It's for business, professional and corporate style content. Don't shame people. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to provide an alternate point of view and be prepared to defend your argument, but don't shame anyone. Again, it's not Facebook, it's not Twitter. There's no time for personal attacks in there. And that's just how it is. People like to keep their professional and corporate lives a little bit separate. Don't steal people's content. If you're going to share. Don't just copy someone else's thing and post it as your own, because as soon as that gets found out, you destroy your credibility, and that credibility will go a long way into removing both yours and your organization's opportunities later on. Don't troll. Have a different opinion, that's fine. Have a different point of view, be prepared to back up your argument, but don't troll people for the sake of it. You get found out pretty quickly. And people are very protective about the content that's put on LinkedIn, and really protective about the professional manner in which people conduct themselves. So that gets people's backs up pretty quick, and you'll know about it. Don't sell out on your values. Have an opinion, pick a side, commit to it. Don't put forward a face or a persona that's not you, because it gets found out pretty quickly after people start engaging at different levels and they start to find out the gaps in your stories. And that's fine. Just be who you are and be open, honest, transparent and clear in your communication, and you'll go a long way. Don't write on content just because it's trending. Write on the things that mean something to you, that resonate with your values, and that you understand and know a fair bit about. Because as soon as you just comment on something that's trending, you'll get found out not to be the subject matter expert, or you'll find out to not have a valid opinion on it or something like that. And people understand it, and you can see the gaps pretty easy.
So team, look, from the 8th Mile team, thank you very much for joining us today. I know that was down and dirty. This is a very complex platform in its own right. And I hope in the next sessions, which is an intermediate session and an advanced session, that we pull apart and really start getting into the detail. In doing so, we'll start looking at how you manage data, what sort of things you might be looking for, and gearing that towards your business, how you might present your brand in a way that is representative of the values that you're trying to represent to the community. And moreover, some of the functional application sides of things to help you do things faster and more efficiently. And we'll slowly step that up, because to jump into the deep end can be a little bit daunting for some. And it's taken us many thousands of hours to find out the information that we have and to get it to where we are now. So look, from us to you, thank you very much. I hope you and your families are very safe and well at this time. And, I appreciate those people that are doing the right thing and staying at home. And thank you for joining us today.